Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the tavern. I'm Spencer,
I'm Eli.
and we're here for another episode of Bardic Blunders. Today, we kind of wanted to talk about just the failure to create anything new in mostly film, but it seeps into video games as well. Um, and we had a couple of examples of properties that are kind of tired, but they keep pumping them out because they know people will watch them. I'll throw it over to you real quick because I know uh, you had a point on this topic that you wanted to mention right off the bat.
Um. Oh, is this with the Save the Cat book?
Yes.
Okay. So there's this book in. The best way to describe it is there's a book called Save the Cat. It was written for the film industry. Let me close my door real quick. And it's basically it says on the title, the last book you will ever need for film writing. And basically, it breaks down what studios want to see when you pitch them an idea. And I hate to say it, and I hate to break everyone's heart, it's just the same thing, but different.
Yeah. So it's kind of been ingrained to be this everything has to be the same because that's what sells. And if you do something different, you don't know
It's
if it's
not going
going
to
to
sell.
work. Why would you try something new that may or may not do well when you can do something that's a
When you're
retread that
guaranteed,
is?
yeah, it's guaranteed money. So why would you risk making $1 million a year if you didn't have to?
Right. And there's a lot of examples of this across the film and game industry. And the first one I'll bring up is probably the most major case of it, and it's the entire Marvel Cinematic Universe. Uh,
Let's expand that a little bit more. Let's just say Disney.
Disney, yeah, we can hit Disney as a whole, uh, because it really is. It's all of Disney is just let's remake this thing from a long time ago. Let's make it live action. Let's make it this. Let's do this, but uh, instead of focusing on the hero we focused on before, we're gonna do a movie about the villain. And it's always some retread thing, and it's why it's so refreshing when you do get something that's not just the same thing over and over again. But Marvel has not delivered that. Uh, I'll touch on Marvel real quick because they really did. I loved the Marvel movies originally. Iron Man, Thor, Captain America, like the Phase One and Phase Two Marvel was so enjoyable. And it was especially enjoyable because it was my thing. Like, me and my dad would go and watch every single one of those movies together. The last Marvel movie we went and watched was Spider-Man No Way Home. We have not even cared about a single Marvel movie since, and we were already starting to not care about a lot of them at that point. And it was just that same, you could see the formula every single time. Nothing was changing. It was safe. You had the same dumb jokes that broke all tension in the story. It like just the formula is tired and they won't give it up. I think they're releasing the Marvels like this week, and every time I see a trailer for it, I'm like, oh gosh. The Captain Marvel movie sucked, and now they're trying to make a sequel to it. Like, I don't know, man.
I, it comes down to, if you think about it, when was the last original idea you've seen in film?
In film in general, that's hard to quantify because I'd have to go by date of the film's release. Uh, Even though I've been watching them recently, I love the Studio Ghibli films, and I will say I know I'm gonna get called an anime nerd and I'm gonna get called a weeb, but Japan does not typically run into that same everything's the same because it's what gives you money. There's tropes,
Okay,
but
okay. I didn't know we were bringing like other countries' ideas into
I
this.
can't speak on any country other than the United States and Japan because those are the only two I watch content from. But uh, the United States as a whole, especially like Hollywood, we'll say Hollywood, is just, it's not creative. It wants to just bring these things back to hit you with a nostalgia punch, or it's like, oh, well, people liked the first one, so they'll like a sequel. And that's all that the U.S. seems to do when it comes to film now. And I haven't, dude, I've watched like maybe two movies in the theaters over the past 2 years. And you know what? I can tell you, Dungeons and Dragons movie. That is probably the most creative movie I've seen in a while. And even then, it had a lot of like tropey. Oh, there's comedic moments. You know, they can't let things get too heavy. You know,
Yeah, I okay. Like, this is my thing. Like, the last movie I have watched that was like original concept is from 2011, and that is Sucker Punch.
Sucker Punch was a good movie.
Everyone hated it
I know.
because it was too different.
Yep.
The more recent, like, interesting, like, idea for a film, Hardcore Henry, which was 2015. And it is very widely argued not great.
I have never watched it.
You get motion sick?
Not really. Not anymore. I used to when I was a kid.
It will give you motion sickness
Cool.
because it is a first-person movie.
Yeah, I remember it being released. I just remember also not really being interested in it. I was like, okay, a typical action movie. And okay, I'll say this too. I'm not a huge fan of like first person or camera point of view movies. Like, uh, I'll say Blair Witch Project because I can't think of the name of the one that I have seen. I've not watched Blair Witch Project, but
Cloverfield?
not Cloverfield either. It was a kids movie. It was like Return to Echo or something. It was this little alien robot that we watched in the movie theaters whenever I was younger because it was like a family movie outing, and I hated it because it was off of a little camcorder the entire time, and that was what your perspective was. I'm like, I can't get behind that camera view. But Hardcore Henry, I've heard a lot of good things about. I'm like, maybe I should go back and watch the movie. Maybe I dismissed it too quickly because of the point of view.
It's enjoyable, but I had to pause the movie 5 or 6 times and walk away because it was making me sick.
Okay.
And I don't get motion sickness.
Well,
Eh,
that's
because
good to know.
it yeah, it will, and I've seen a lot of complaints about it. But the problem is, in my mind, is you a lot of these writers, one, they don't get paid enough.
Right.
Thus the whole thing with the writer's strike. But they're not putting out good content even if they were getting paid more.
I think there's like this catch-22 going on where people are like, well, writers need to be paid more so they can make better work, and people are like, well, they aren't making better work, they need to make better work before we can pay them. And it's like it's ending up in this back and forth where it's a really nasty cycle, because it is hard to say, like, yeah, a lot of writing hasn't been doing great lately. But you just don't know if that's because of how they're being directed, if they're being forced down these writing paths, or if it really is just bad writers, or like, or if they're not making enough money, so they're not putting as much effort into it. Like, there's a lot of questions to ask about the whole writer's strike, but um, I
And
think
my other point to that is intellectual property law in America, at least, sucks.
oh yeah,
If I work for Disney and I have an idea, Disney owns that idea.
right. Oh, that's why you don't write the idea down or do anything with the idea until after you're out of Disney.
Exactly.
You don't leave a paper trail.
And that is the biggest problem is intellectual property sucks. Writers have been taught this very formulaic writing style from college because 90% of these writers go to college. You don't have these like unknown writers anymore.
Well, and I mean, even if you're talking about the hero's journey, like we're taught that in what, middle school?
Yeah.
I remember being taught that fairly young, and as I've gotten older, I've realized that the hero's journey sucks. Like, it's not a good way to write a hero, or any character for that matter.
Okay, it's an amazing way to write a character. But when it gets used in every single movie, it becomes repetitive and boring.
It's the same thing every time.
And nobody wants to change it. Why? Because you make too much money from it.
Right. And
But
sadly, the general populace is stupid enough that changing something like that will be like, well, that's not a good hero because they aren't super idealistic and they didn't go through the hero's journey, so this is a bad movie. Like, there's literally, I don't know if you've heard about this, but if you've ever wondered why every single movie poster is always just like the cast across the movie poster, talking about live action movies more specifically, there's all these other tossed out poster concepts that are like cartoonish or animated or hand drawn or something that does a good job of conveying the movie and is a beautiful piece of art. But no joke, the general populace goes, that's a cartoon movie. I'm an adult. I don't watch cartoons. And they don't go watch the movie. Even if it's in live action, if the poster is drawn or looks cartoonish in any way, the general populace is just like, nope, that's a baby movie. I'm an adult.
yeah. The other thing I have noticed recently, movie theaters aren't getting as much business anymore.
Oh no, of course not. And
because what's the point when I can wait an extra 2 months and have it on streaming service? or I
or
can have it the next day
I was gonna
on
say
streaming service.
sometimes it drops in the theaters and on a streaming service same day. Like there is no difference. And in that case, like, oh yeah, I'm paying $15 a month for a streaming service. The movie came out on that streaming service. Why on earth would I pay $20 to go to some crappy movie theater just to watch it on a slightly bigger screen?
Like, you remember the D&D movie? We went opening day to that.
Right. That's the
Actually, it was
last time I've
opening.
gone to a movie in the theaters.
We went opening night on that because they did the like uh Thursday night release for it.
And the tickets weren't as expensive.
I think the tickets were like $12 a person.
I was gonna say 10 or $12. We didn't go to one of the super nice movie theaters, but I didn't have a problem with it.
Yeah, it was like just it's like you. Who cares about super nice movie theaters anymore? They're all trash.
Well, yeah. Well, I mean, it's just because like there are the movie theaters that are like, oh, we've got IMAX Triple HD reclining seats with, you know, ball warmers.
You know, we went
like,
to. You know, we did go to an IMAX showing of that, right?
yeah, yeah.
And
I mean, at a
super good audio quality one too, and it was empty.
yeah.
It was like scary empty.
There was maybe 15 other people outside of our group in the whole theater.
Yeah.
But
You probably still have the funniest moment. I probably have the funniest moment from that is when with the displacer beast and me jumping out of my skin.
So yeah, well, let's take a little tangent and talk about the D&D movie. So I went with Eli and his family to go see the movie. I had just gotten off work the earlier in the day, and I was like, I'm feeling a little crummy. I was feeling bad the day before, but I'm like, So I go to work. That day, and I'm like, oh man, I feel awful. And I get home, like I'll just lay down for a little bit, and it just got worse. So I'm sick as a dog, and I'm like, oh shoot, I'm not missing the movie. Like my voice is all hoarse. I'm pale. I've got a fever. I have no business being out of bed. I think I had the flu, but I'm like, I show up anyways. I'm like, let's go. And I'm curled up in a ball in the seat next to Eli. It's March too, so it's like it's March in Florida, so it's not cold. I am in a jacket. I have an undershirt. I'm wearing sweatpants. I have big warm fuzzy socks on in my Crocs, my winter Crocs that have the insulation in them, and I'm just like curled up in the fetal position watching this movie next to Eli. It gets to the scene with the maze.
I would also like to point out, at that time, I was in the process of opening 2 different restaurants at the same time.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you were exhausted.
Yeah, I was.
So he's sleep deprived. I'm sick as a dog. And in that scene when the guy's running from the displacer beast and it just slams around the corner real quick, Eli got air. Like, he seriously left the seat when that happened. And I just died laughing.
I was not expecting that at all. I was like, oh man.
And you're not a jumpy person. You don't tend to, like, jump a lot at things like that. But that sent you. And I think that was the funniest thing, was you got airtime. Oh, that killed me. That was so funny.
And I think my one line was, "Oh shit!" And it was loud enough where everyone in the theater looked at me. I was like, "Oh hey."
The only other time I'd ever heard you jump like that was on that ride, the Hagrid ride.
Oh yes, I. Okay, for all the audience members out there, all like 30 of you, love you.
You guys are awesome.
I am not, I am not a roller coaster person.
You're not a
I
theme park person.
I'm not a theme park person. The only reason I go to theme parks is like I have friends that want to go to theme parks, and I'm the guy who holds the bags.
Yeah.
So I don't really go to theme parks, and that's fine with me.
You'll ride a couple of the rides, but they're the more laid back ones, like the Jurassic Park ride. This is at
Oh
Universal,
yeah,
by the way, Universal Orlando.
yeah. I'll do that one. I'll do like the Harry Potter ride because it's like it's not. It's a screen. I'm not like and the
Well, I mean, even the Harry Potter
Jurassic Park
ride is
one's
not
a
really a
flop.
screen. You're going through an environment, but you're not being like whipped around, and it's not going super fast. It's just a cinematic ride.
Yeah.
But we go to Universal slash Islands of Adventure for our buddy's birthday, or his 21st birthday a few years ago, and we're like, yeah, we're gonna party. We're gonna have some fun. The ride there was hilarious, but getting there, well, Eli's not really jumping on a ton of rides because he's not big on a lot of the rides. Um, we do a couple, like the Jurassic Park ride and everything.
And before anybody says I am not afraid of roller coasters, I do not trust the engineering of roller coasters. Is why it. I if we were in Japan, hands down, I'll go on any of the rides.
I
If
mean,
we were in
dude,
Germany, any of the rides I'll go on because they're not designed to fail.
I've ridden on roller coasters my entire life, and I've never once. The only issue I ever had on a roller coaster was whenever we came to a stop at the end of the coaster, and the seats malfunctioned, so they couldn't unlatch it for like 10 minutes. So we were just stuck sitting in the coaster, like, all right, I guess we're chilling. That's the only issue I've ever had on a roller coaster, and that's in like, well, I'm 24. That's in 18 years of riding roller coasters. But regardless, you don't like roller coasters. So we're at.
I can tell you exactly why I don't like roller coasters. Do you remember the old Cheetah Chase roller coaster?
Yes, I do.
Like the super old one?
Do you mean
Yeah, I
Cheetah
got
Hunt?
Yeah, Cheetah Hunt.
The one that whips you around?
Yeah, we got stuck. Me and my mother went on it, and we got stuck upside down for over an hour.
Oh.
So that is one of the main reasons I don't do roller coasters. One, I don't like going upside down. I don't like being upside down. I am very much my feet are on the ground. I'm good to go.
Well, the Hagrid one didn't turn you upside down.
Yeah, and that was the one argument I had. Is I said I will fight you if this thing goes upside down. We had to ask. I think we asked a couple of the park attendants, like, does this ride go upside down?
And they're like, no, it doesn't. We're like, okay, cool. But we were there, it had just opened. So it was a crowded ride, but we got in lucky. We didn't have to wait super long. But our friend was just like, I don't know. I think this is just like a nice little trip and looking at all of Hagrid's creatures, and it's a fun little ride. And Eli was like, all right, fine. We're pretty much all the way up to the ride, and we see it go past us, and you're like, that was really fast. Are you sure about this? And Justin's like, well, I think it just goes straight, so it should be fine, right? And you're like,
it's just looks like it's moving fast. It's not moving that fast. I'm like, okay, I'm not walking towards this thing as I saw it whip by me at over 30 miles an hour.
yeah, I think its official speed is like 60 miles an hour. But you were like, okay, it might go fast, but it looks like it's just a straight line. It goes straight. It might go around a couple of bends, but it's fine.
I've been on motorcycles going 60 miles an hour, not that bad.
Right. So we get up. You take the sidecar on his bike because the actual seats are set up like motorbikes. Because it's Hagrid's ride. It's like Hagrid's motorcycle. Well, we're going around.
While I am a fairly tall person, I was the only one of us that fit in the sidecar.
But yeah, well, all three of us are fairly tall, but you're the smallest of the three.
That is.
So we come out, and it comes out pretty slow to start, and we're like, okay, this isn't too bad. And then it hits a part and just goes, and I can hear you behind me like, I don't like this. This is going fast.
This is going a little too quick for me. And then we come to a stop, and I'm like, the ride's over. And then we start going backwards 60 miles an hour. I'm like, no.
See,
no,
it's even better because we like come around a bend and it slows down a little bit, and you're like, all right. And then it comes up, and there's a part where the track just goes up and stops, and you're like, no, okay, don't like this. And you go up, you're like with your back facing the ground, and then you go backwards. And that's when you're like, nope, I hate you now. You lied to me.
And then it comes to a dead stop in like a dark room, and I'm like, oh, it's over.
That's
over. That's not that bad. And then it dropped.
The floor. So you back up into this cave, and you're backing up fairly slow, and we're like, okay. But you're going through the cave, and you're like, oh yeah, it's the cave in the Forbidden Forest. All right, this is cool. You hit a certain point, and the floor just drops. And it drops you to a level below to another track, but it caught me off guard. I was like, oh shoot, whenever it dropped, and Justin had his own reaction. But you're I'm in the motorbike in front of them, and I hear from behind me.
Yes, I scream like a little girl because I am a grown man and I know when things are about to go bad.
But it was so funny. And the rest of the ride pretty much went off without incident. But
except for me yelling, "Get me off of this thing."
Yeah,
you flowery language involved.
You did shout whenever we were finally pulling into a stop. But oh my gosh. Justin feels bad. He feels bad about having you on there, about bringing you on there, because he like kind of misled you. I don't feel bad in the slightest because it was hilarious.
See, that's the thing. You don't have to feel bad for me if it's funny. That's the thing. If it's funny, oh darn, it happened. If it's not funny, like if I just like fall and break both of my legs, okay, feel bad, because I'm now stuck. I am in trouble.
But we've completely gotten off topic now at this point.
Yeah, lazy writing.
Yeah, lazy
Harry Potter
writing.
movies suck. Harry Potter is literally just Star Wars, but with wizards instead of Jedi.
But even like, I'd prefer that another Harry Potter-esque kind of like, oh, I see this other movie. I like the way the movie went. Let me just tweak it into a different world. Because that's happened to a lot of times, and it's gone off well. That's a little bit different than let's release Harry Potter number 27. Or you liked Harry Potter. How about a movie about Harry Potter's son? Like, I don't care. I like. And it's the same thing with Marvel. We had Captain Marvel before, and even though a lot of people hated that movie, we're gonna release another one with a whole team of Captain Marvels. That way, the insufferability is spread out among 5 characters instead of just one. That'll work. But it does happen in video games as well. Prime examples are the yearly releases. Call of Duty, Assassin's Creed. There's a lot of other yearly releases that really aren't yearly releases anymore. Like they used to be. But
yeah.
I even think all of those like Farm Simulator, Truck Simulator, Car Mechanic Simulator, this simulator, that simulator, that release yearly, I don't understand the point.
Or the sports games that release
The
yearly.
sports games, those are a prime example. They absolutely suck chunks. Like I meant to say blow chunks or suck balls, but I kind of mixed the two. Those are terrible.
We'll burn that bridge when we get to it.
Exactly. I mean, what do people expect? I'm not a rocket surgeon. Stupid. But those yearly releases are so lazy. They're so overdone. It's like, just let it die. Or in the case of like the sports games, you know what? Release one, have it out for 3 years, tweak the rosters yearly, release the next one. It's going to be a lot better game. People are going to be happier with it. More people are going to buy it. Like, I'll give credit to Assassin's Creed. It was a yearly release for the longest time until they put out Unity, which was a flaming bag of dog crap. Like, it was awful. So they were like, okay, message received. Let's fix it. They took a year off. They made a better game. Now, do I think they went in the right direction? Not necessarily. But they at least tried to change it up. Now they've gotten into the theme of making that same game over and over again, and it's just like, I don't know. And I don't know how you fix it.
You don't.
Play indie games.
Yeah.
Dude, see, like, indie games, you know what? I'll say that I don't watch TV or movies very often because the quality of content that I find on YouTube, of all places, has surpassed movie and TV. And it's the same thing. Indie developers put so much more passion into their video games than these AAA developers that just want to pump out money-making projects.
Yeah.
I have seriously found so many talented YouTubers who make it like, yeah, I'm not going to watch a movie because why would I waste my time with a 2-hour movie when I can get more value out of a 20-minute video on YouTube or a 45-minute documentary?
Yeah, it's like look at Markiplier.
Oh man, he's making his own movie.
In space. Yeah, he does a great job.
He puts so much effort, and it's because for him, it's not about money. It's about making something good, something he can be proud of, which is not the MO of companies. Companies, it's money, money, money. We need to make money. If we didn't make enough money, this failed. It doesn't matter if people liked it. It doesn't matter if, oh, well, it had a 98% positive rating from the audience. Well, it didn't make this much money, so it failed, and we're never doing that again. But when you get these individuals who are so excited to make their product and they just refine it and they want it better and they do this and they do that and they do put everything they have into making it good, it's such a better product.
Yeah.
Concerned Ape with Stardew.
Yeah.
Like, he's
honestly, we should try and get him on the podcast.
Oh, dude, I would love if I could get. I would love to have a conversation with Concerned Ape. Because, I mean, so I'll say this. I'm trying to be a game developer myself. I'm just starting. I'm working with Eli, and we're throwing ideas back and forth at each other for an idea for a game. And,
What's up, baby girl?
I
broke him.
What? What? Huh? Oh my gosh.
Be allowed to talk.
Okay. That caught me off guard for sure. No, but we're throwing ideas back and forth. And so to be able to get to chat with guys like Concerned Ape or Toby Fox, who did Undertale. I've been watching his stuff recently. I don't remember his YouTube name. You sent me the video of him. He does the... He makes Heartbound. He's the developer of Heartbound. And he's a former hacker.
Oh, yeah.
I don't remember...
I sent you one of his videos.
Yeah, I can't remember his name.
Where he was ripping on Undertale.
Well, it was less so ripping on Undertale and more saying, like, hey, don't think pirate software. That's what his YouTube channel is. His message was, you don't need to be an incredible programmer. You don't need to be an incredible musician. You don't need to be an incredible artist to make a game. Just go make a game. Undertale is a horribly coded mess because Toby Fox had just started learning how to code when he made it. So there's a bunch of repetitive statements, there's a bunch of redundant code, there's a bunch of messy code, and so it's very hard to decipher a lot of what he wrote because it is poorly written. It's written by a novice. But Undertale was the hit of 2015. Absolutely blew up the internet for a while. So his point with that was not Undertale is a trash game. His point was, yes, it may have messy code. Its code base may not be great, and it may be difficult for other developers to sift through. But does that make the game worse? No. Because nobody sees that. Nobody playing the game has any knowledge of how ugly the code base is. And so why should that mess with the game? Why should that be important? Why should you believe you have to be an expert to be able to make a game when you can just go make a game?
It's the same idea. Man, it's the whole idea with like writing. You don't have to be good at writing to write a book.
You just start writing.
And eventually you'll get there. Neil Graham says that. He's the guy who wrote Coraline and American Gods.
Right. Coraline's a fantastic book. Creepy, but
He
fantastic.
he actually did like an interview on what it was about, which was actually like, oh my god, that's really interesting. Long story short, him and his kids were in the wood, stepped on a wasp nest. Wasps attacked because they're wasps.
Right.
Um, he dropped his glasses. He got his kids home. His kids didn't get stung at all, but he got stung up like crazy. And the next day, he goes back to get his glasses, and he is absolutely terrified. And he's like, I don't understand why I wasn't terrified yesterday when I was getting stung. And he goes, oh, that's what bravery is.
Yeah.
And he goes, oh, I know what I should write this book about. Because he had started writing Coraline and hadn't figured out a concept. And then he was like, that's what this book should be about. That's what we need to do.
Right. And that is what creates it creates the best stories when somebody connects it to their own life. I mean, there's so many stories that you could point to that had that exact. I don't personally love it. It's not one of my favorite books. I didn't enjoy having to read it in school, but I can acknowledge that To Kill a Mockingbird is a wonderful book. It's wonderfully written. It's a great piece on the time period it was covering. Like, I can understand why it is such a famous book. And it's passion, it's connecting it to your own life. It's
Hey, guess what? That got banned in again.
really,
Yeah. Also, 1984 got banned again.
oh, of course it did.
A whole bunch of books got banned here in Florida recently.
Go look at that book, that list of banned books, and there's a good chance you should read every single one of those books.
Oh, absolutely. Fahrenheit 451 got banned.
Yeah. Oh, that's an incredible book. And I actually there's a concept copy. I don't know if it's a real copy of the book, but it's a concept copy of the book where the one on the title in Fahrenheit 451 is a little container with a match in it. And then the spine of the book has the stuff for striking a match. And so you're supposed to, when you finish the book, pull out the match, strike it on the spine, and burn the book.
So it's funny. My youngest sibling, one of their teachers actually has a shelf of all the banned books, and she refuses to take them out of the class.
Good.
And her excuse to the school board is, why should I? Kids need to learn this stuff. Okay, there's some books where I'm like, okay, kids of certain ages shouldn't be reading.
Right. Like there's a lot of books that I think you can draw importance from, even if it's not as like, oh, this is teaching me a good lesson on how I should be, or you know what this is about, or how to read this. And even if it's like, read this book to understand how atrocious this side of, like, Mein Kampf is a terrible book, but you should read it. You should at least read some of it to understand how terrible it is. Like, it's the same, like, striking history from the history books is terrible, because what are you supposed to look back on and go, oh yeah, that kind of was something we shouldn't do? the
If we
famous
do not
quote.
learn from history, we are doomed to repeat it.
Exactly. And I mean, even that quote can tie into what we were talking about with writing. Like
Yeah.
you watch all of these crappy things be thrown out, and if you try and take inspiration from them, the sad part is you're going to end up exactly like them, throwing out this crappy retread, reboot, sequel, whatever product, and I mean, it's gonna make you money, but it's the same thing. Like, yeah, you know what? I could go right now and be a construction worker, walking on those I beams with nothing but a little rope to save my life if I fall off, and I'd be making a ton of money. I'd hate my life, but I'd making a lot of money. So I guess if there's a lesson to draw off of whatever nonsense, non sequitur ramblings we've had through this whole episode, make sure you enjoy what you're making because that will make it worthwhile. If you enjoy what you're making, you will make something good.
Yeah. Enjoy what you do in life.
Exactly.
This is the thing, here in America especially. Money grabbing has become so big and so massive that happiness has dropped. Uh, as of 2023, we are the most depressed country in the world because nobody is happy anymore.
Because everybody forces themselves into these crappy jobs and deals
To
with
make money,
to make money, right?
so they can go do the fun things, but then they don't have time to go do the fun things because they still have to work.
They have to deal with the crappy job. Exactly. And you know, obviously there's jobs that need to be done and they suck and someone always has to do them and to keep our society running, and it's a pain, but they have to be done. Restaurant
But you have
workers
people,
and
essential workers.
essential workers, will quote unquote, because the retail and restaurant workers are the more front side of that. There are other things that will always have to be done that are the dirty jobs that no one wants to do.
Plumbing, electricity.
Exactly. Construction, any of those rough jobs. Working on an oil rig. Like, it has to be done to keep the world we've built up running. So, somebody always has to do those kind of jobs, even though they suck. But there's become this, like, you're almost viewed as a slave instead of an employee in a lot of
Yep.
places. Like, that's what I felt about one of my old workplaces. I I get paid well at my current work, but I still have problems with it. Everybody has problems with every job, obviously. Even your dream job is going to have problems because that's just how life works.
The
But
only way you're ever going to be happy is working for yourself. And the only way to work for yourself is just to do it.
it's a leap of faith.
Yeah.
To quote one of the few good movies over the past few years, it was Into the Spider-Verse, if you didn't remember. That was Fat Peter Parker to Miles Morales.
Yep.
It's a leap of faith. But I mean, heck, yeah, you want to talk about that specific thing. Uh, an example is like Tom Grossi. I know this is sports. This is off of our typical nerd talk, but we kind of just seem to be going off on a tangent right now, so why not? Tom Grossi was a teacher. He started his podcast back in 2015 called Packcast, where he'd talk about the Packers game. And he'd talk about free agent acquisitions and who they picked up in the draft and just simple football stuff. Just 2 years ago, I think, in 2021, he was able to quit his job as a teacher and full time do content creation on YouTube. And he's only grown bigger and bigger. He's now been nominated as the Packers Fan of the Year. And
That's
so
pretty cool.
it is, oh, dude, it's so cool. And he toured around the entire country, going to every NFL stadium, and he raised $500,000 for St. Jude's Children's Hospital. Like, absolutely great things he does, and it's all because he worked hard and got himself to the point where he could support himself just on YouTube. And obviously that's like a dream job. I'd love to get there. I don't believe I ever will, because I'm just a dude who plays games and does a podcast with you. If there was anything that was going to get any level of traction, it would be this podcast, not me just farting around on games all day.
We should just start doing weird random stuff, like doing videos for like face review. And just being big dumb idiots in our normal life like we always are.
I mean, well, yeah, exactly. And that's me and my dad talked for a long time about just posting some of our conversations on YouTube, because we have these insane back and forths that are really funny. I've thought about just every time we hop into a Discord call, just hitting record and sifting through the entire everything that gets recorded and picking out the best bits. Like, do I think we are capable of being quote unquote popular YouTubers, well-known figures on the platform? We could be, but the absolute
You are,
luck,
definitely.
the luck you need. I think there's a lot of people that could be big YouTubers or big streamers, and they just never get that lucky break. Doesn't matter how good you are, it matters how lucky you are to get noticed. And so, I mean, I'm going to keep doing YouTube because I have fun with it, and that's why I do it. Like, I don't do it because I want to blow up and I want to be this big old YouTuber and, you know, I want to be famous. Like, I couldn't really care less about that. I just have fun. And I really enjoy when people pop into my streams and say hi and chill with me for a little bit. And, you know, it's cool. It's enjoyable. And I'm glad people have found entertainment from me being an idiot.
I pop into your streams, make fun of you for a while.
Every Sunday, without fail, you pop into my Bucks live stream and say, "Go other team." Without fail. You've done it almost every week of the season at this point. You harass me. Oh, boy.
Yeah. And for the most part, I'll pop out of the stream and let you keep going. I just try and get your reaction. This past week, I stayed on for a bit, just to have fun with you.
Just, yeah, you were relentless.
I was really rough this week.
Not as rough as the Bucks, but, you know, that's a separate conversation for a sports podcast. Hey, just kidding. I'm not doing a sports podcast.
No.
Not yet, at least. But yeah, OBS? What do you mean disconnected? Oh, don't drop the stream.
No.
Reconnection successful. Hopefully the stream never cut out there. Uh, so we'll keep plugging along like it didn't.
I mean, we got about 5 minutes left anyhow.
We don't really have any time left, yeah. So was there anything else we had on the docket aside from our rambling that completely went off topic?
I mean, stay tuned. Me and do you go by Sir Crumpets on this or Spencer?
You could just say my name.
Okay. Well, I said it anyway, so.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, at this point.
Anyway, Suspense here, and I are. I made myself laugh.
Of course you did.
Looking at, we were putting something together that we might just. I don't know if it would be better for you in like just a basic video format.
Maybe.
Or if we did it on the podcast, going over characters and character development.
I mean, honestly, dude, I think it'd be a great topic for the podcast if you'd want to do it on the podcast, but I also think it would work as a video. Because...
Actually, you know what? We might have a good first video series, if you think about it.
Yeah.
You and me create a D&D world.
So, we basically the explanation is we bounced back and forth and we wanted to improve upon the hero's journey. We thought the hero's journey was too basic, it was too formulaic, every hero went along with it. So we're like, we want to change that up. So we started planning how to fix the hero's journey and the development of main characters in general, and really the development of stories in general, and like changing how stories are written. And I mean, both of us are DMs, so we write our own worlds. So like, I'm not exactly a writer, but I at least know what it takes to make competent characters and a decent world and everything, something immersive. And so we were kind of toying with that. So yeah, if you want to do a video series on that, I'm down.
A video series on that, video series on writing characters and improving upon your current characters, because I mean, I hate to say it, but character development is such a key aspect to writing a story.
Oh, it's absolutely, I mean, 100% a key aspect. You don't have good characters, you don't have a good story. Period.
But at the same time, characters have to feel. I hate to say this, but there's this something I saw or something I read somewhere is when you create a character, you need to make them their own person.
Right.
And when you do that, you then have to throw the world at them.
Yeah.
And I don't know very many people that have had like an amazing life from start to finish.
Not a lot of people. You'd be hard pressed to find someone like that.
Yeah. So you have to mess up your perfect character to make them work and make them feel real. Because while our friend does love Superman, it's getting really bored of the Superman-esque characters.
Right. Well, and yeah, I don't love Superman.
He does make good arguments for Superman, and I love him for it. But I will always be a Batman fan.
I will always be a Marvel fan. DC's alright. I've always preferred Marvel. And Moon Knight for life. Let's go. I love Moon Knight.
I mean, listen, I am looking at probably one of the most expensive pieces of art for any Daredevil fan ever in my
Oh,
room.
yeah, you've got... This is a really cool piece you've got.
So I have the original proof for or I think it's one of the original proofs, for what Daredevil was supposed to look like during the Daredevil TV show. And I picked it up at a comic book convention. And it hangs on my wall to this day.
That is such a cool piece.
And I did not pay a lot of money for it.
But there are a lot of people that would pay a lot of money for it.
Absolutely. And it's even signed by the artist. So it's like, because I picked it up, I was like, hey, dude, could you sign this for me? And he's like, yeah, why not? And he signed it, and it hangs on my wall. And I'm like, ooh, I got something. And now they did change a few things in the design of him, but it's one of the OG, like, hey, this is Daredevil. He shouldn't be wearing like a bunch of clothes. He should just wear body armor, because who is he fighting? Gang members. Gang members have guns.
Right.
It hangs next to my picture of Madeline Monroe.
You've got a lot of cool art from conventions. I want to go to another convention.
Hey, dude, Dragon Con tickets are still only $100, I believe.
Well, it's $100 I don't have right now, but maybe at some point. But I think we're good. I think that's a stream. We got our quotes. Our quotes is the last thing we need to do. So I'll throw out mine first. Mine is from Persona 5, and it's, being at the peak may mean you are mere moments from your downfall. That is Igor from Persona 5. But what you got?
Oh man, I did not. I had a quote in mind and I completely forgot it.
Oh no. You were even like, don't steal my quote.
Man.
You're like, you're gonna snipe the quote right out from under me.
Oh. Since we're doing a writing one, we gotta go with Ernest Hemingway.
Ah, there it is.
Writing isn't hard. You just sit at a typewriter and bleed.
That's a good one. I like that one.
That's actually on my Instagram.
Nice. I don't have an Instagram.
Oh, you should get one.
Why?
So I can send you a bunch of memes I find.
Yeah, of course. That's why. All right, that's all from us. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Bardic Blunders. We'll see you next week. Tally ho!
Tally ho!